Hey everyone, it's Dale again from the Webhub class, and now we are going to start adding some content to our Bootstrap site. We've already built the index.html, we've added a navigation. Just to show you again what it looks like, we've got a little bit of style attached. We're not so much focusing on that right now, we're more focusing on the structure of the site. So before we do that, though, I want to point out something really quickly. We've got our Project 3 folder, which is where our files are right now. And in the order of keeping everything simple and easy to understand, I suggest you start another folder and call it IMG and have that be the place for all of your images. So I'm going to be using these two images right here, one of Colorado Bend State Park and one of Palmetto State Park. So I'm going to go ahead and move those files over to the IMG folder just so I know where they are, and makes everything clean and simple. You don't have a lot of random files floating around your folder. Okay, so now we're here and we're going to start writing content. So you can do it like this, and I'll just throw in a p tag, and I'm going to throw in some dummy test language content in the site. That should be enough. I am going to go up here to view, text display, and show wrap. I might want to add a little bit more. Okay, so let me go ahead and save that, and now come back here. And you can see our content is there, but if you look over here, we really have no margin. We've got it right up against the end of the screen. The good thing is our site is responsive, and you can tell because as we move it smaller and smaller, the site is responding. So we can go all the way down to a smartphone size, or perhaps a tablet size, or a full browser size, and the site responds with you. So if you remember back to our Project 2, we talked about adding divs, and specifically we had that container div. So we can do the same thing here in Bootstrap, and the good thing is Bootstrap already has defined that container div for us. So I'm going to go right here, and I can either do it above the navigation, which if I do it above the navigation it'll move it over. I like the navigation being all the way to the left though. So really I'm going to have the div start right after the navigation. So I'm going to do div, and instead of ID equals container, this time we're using something called class equals container. This class div you can use over and over again. It's different from an ID, which can only be defined once and used once. So I'm going to go ahead and close the div right here. Now I'm going to save this again, and you'll notice everything shifted over. So now, because the Bootstrap theme or template has already defined that container div, this is what it gave it. It gave it a bunch of padding to the left. We're still responsive, so if I close the site, it's still responsive, so we're good to go. One of the great things about Bootstrap is it runs on a grid system. So I'm going to show you this example of the Boston Globe website. This is an example of a grid. If you look at it, we've got a third here, a third here, and a third here. These aren't all exactly the same size, but you get the idea that this site is broken down into 3 different columns. And if I close it and get to about tablet size, you can see that one of the columns just went away. Well, it didn't go away, it just pushed it down here. Now if I keep going to smartphone size, now the browser and the site has responded again to make it easier to read and find the link. So that's the whole idea behind the grid system. It really helps in responsive because you decide for it where you want the content to go. So in Bootstrap, we have 12 different columns that go all the way across the site. And you can see this in action if you go back to the Bootstrap site, and this time click on the CSS, and now over here click Grid System. We have 12 different columns. So Here's an example of that in action. So you have 4 different options for a grid system that you can pick for Bootstrap. We have those 12 columns, which we really wouldn't want that because then you'd have individual content in each one of these columns and that would look like a mess. This one is pretty nice. It's basically broken down into 2/3 and 1/3. So you would have content over here and then more content over here, but they would be different. We can break those 12 columns up into 3 equal columns of 4, or we can do 6 and 6. I really like this 8 and 4 because I kind of want an image to go. I think it would go well right here, and then I could have content going 2/3 of the way across the site. So how you do that is you scroll down here and you find what you want in the code that's already provided. So I want the 8 and 4, so I'm going to copy that, and then I put it right in the spot of the code where I want it. So again, remember to clean up your code a little bit, and I'm going to save that and go back to my page. And so you can see right here is the 2/3 and then we have the 1/3. Now the reason this is showing up is because in the code that's the marker. So all your content will go right here. So let me replace this with more of this dummy content right here, just so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. I'm going to save that. And so now I have content that goes 2/3 of the way across the page, and I like that. That's what I was looking for. So now I'm going to replace this with an image. And how you do that is we're going to do an image tag just like we've used when we hand-coded our website. But I need to tell them to look in that image folder. Remember, I saved a folder called IMG, and that's where I put all my images. So one of the images was called Palmetto JPEG. So now I'm going to save that and refresh. And obviously this picture is way too big. Okay, so how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to Pixlr or Photoshop, whichever you're more comfortable using. I'm going to go Project 3, IMG. I'm going to open the Palmetto image, and I'm going to resize to about 300 pixels. And now I'm going to save. You can go ahead and 124 kilobytes is a little bit big for a site, so I'm going to try like 85% quality. That's taking it too far, maybe 90. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save it there. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to replace it. So now all I have to do is refresh, and there you go. That's a lot better. So in an ideal world, you would continue to have content there, so it goes down to at least start covering up the website, or the image. So I'm going to keep adding content until we get to that point. Okay, there you go. So you can see the grid system in action right there. Now notice this kind of looks like it's on the grid also. That's just because the text ended. So if I go back up here and add a little bit more content there, it is not part of the grid system. So hopefully that makes sense. So now if I want to go back and add another part of the grid, what I can do is copy and paste that raw code from earlier, or for the case of this, I'm just going to copy and paste that again, and now I'm going to change the name of the image to Colorado Bend, because that's another image in my image folder. I'm going to save that, and now we've got another image here that is way too big. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open. I'm going to open Colorado Bend. I'm going to, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to go to image, image size, and again I'm going to do 300 or so. I'm going to go to save. I'll change this to like 90 again. 42 kilobytes, that's a good web version size. And now I'm going to refresh. And so we've got this grid system working. You may notice there's no break right here. All you have to do is in between these two divs, add a BR, save that, refresh, and now you've got a break there between those. So there you go. That's how you add content to a Bootstrap site and how you implement the grid system onto your site.